What? You don't even hunt with a sword? Out of my sight, peasant. Alright, so this is going to be a bit of an incomplete review by my usual standards. Some more closing thoughts, I suppose, because I don't have the sword anymore. I gave it away too early. I sold some stuff to someone shortly before the move and threw this in as a freebie, and at the time I was so tired and stressed out that I didn't remember that I hadn't actually recorded the final review section yet. So I have the test footage, but I don't have the close-up pictures, and I don't have it to show you right now in detail, which is unfortunate, but we're gonna do it anyway. So hunting swords were popular as sidearms during hunting parties in Europe, particularly between the 16th and 19th centuries, not to run after a deer, but just to dispatch wounded animals, possibly butcher them as well. The blades on these could be either straight or curved, and they were always single-edged. Another term for them was hanger, and they were very common in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. The S-shaped quillons and shell guard on the cold steel hunting sword are one of the forms that you find during that time, and there was substantial variation on these. The grip on this is a little different than what I've seen on historical ones. I kind of call this a pineapple with the pattern on it and the studs. Now, the closest I've seen to this on a picture is this stiletto here, but on that one the studs are actually ground flat, whereas on the cold steel hunting sword they stick out. So I did not expect this to be very comfortable to hold, but it's actually not too bad, and it most certainly is better than the gnarly staghorn hilt on the 17th century hanger. Some of these, I don't even know how you would grip them. They are downright spiky, but as said, it was a sidearm, only to be used occasionally during the hunt and possibly with gloves. And of course, also hunting was an aristocratic pastime, and aristocrats have always loved to show off. Some of these were really elaborately, not to say decadently, ornamented. This type of hanger was also popular with military officers, however, so it would also be used in combat. Not the spiky staghorn versions, I would imagine, but this overall type. You've probably already seen in a previous video that this sword failed during chopping tests, and this was light chopping on free hanging branches, so not a lot of stress at all, but one of the quillons just snapped off during that. And this is particularly troublesome because one of the potential uses for a hunting sword back then would be to clear underbrush. In fact, some of them had a saw teeth on the back of the blade. So I've contacted the person at Cold Steel who sent me the hunting sword, and the reply was that this is unacceptable and that they're looking into it. I haven't heard anything since then, so I don't know if they've changed anything. Hopefully they have, because this looked pretty bad, especially the close-up at the point where it broke. This is a terrible cast. Apparently it's cast steel. Now, what remained of the guard held up fine during subsequent chopping tests on particle board, but I agree, it's unacceptable. It shouldn't be like that. So that's an issue. One other thing to note, by the way, is that the guard and the studs on the grip are silver nickel plated. So if you have a nickel allergy, this would probably cause a reaction, so you might have to use gloves in that case. So what about the rest of the sword, aside from the guard? That seems good, really good in fact. It's a nut construction. I wish I still had it so I could disassemble it and take a look at the tang, but it is what it is, and it seemed fine during the test, during the chopping. It didn't loosen up. There's no rattle in any way, and I didn't notice any issue at all. The blade is great. It's made of 1055 high carbon steel. There was no damage during any of the tests. It came very sharp, which I appreciate, and overall it's a really good cutter. These were my best cuts with it, so that shows you what the blade can do. There were some others that weren't quite as clean. Some were a little bit sloppy. Most of them were at least okay. So the blade does perfectly fine as long as your edge alignment is good. Perfectly adequate edge. Nice looking blade too with the fullers. And yeah, it's overall pretty well shaped. The handling is also really good. It's quite a light sword overall. Well balanced too. It has a certain liveliness in the hand, and yeah, as I said, the grip is a little rough on the hand, but not as much as I would have expected. So it gives you a really good grip. Obviously, it kind of digs into your palm and doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, that's all good. There are of course certain limitations in this price range. You know, anything under $300 generally has limited historical accuracy compared to high-end reproductions, and the fit is not going to be quite as tight. You have to temper your expectations basically in this price range, but for the money, aside from the guard issue, as said, it's quite good. And that really bothers me because normally it would be really easy to recommend this. As it is, with the terrible cast steel they used for the guard, cannot recommend it. I mean, I would recommend this as a project blade. Basically, if you wanted to replace the guard, of course for just a project blade it would be a lot of money. So I do hope that they fix this in the future, because if they do, this would certainly be worth recommending. And yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say about it. Again, sorry for the lack of close-up pictures and videos and all that. It was a little unfortunate how it went during the moving chaos. But I hope you found it useful anyway. Thanks for watching and have a good one, folks.